Thank you.
So, welcome to another episode of Hypnotherapy Reflections, from training to practice. Today we have the lovely Neha Malhotra. I always get it wrong. She tells me off. She's with us today. Neha, who's not been qualified for that long, but long enough. And from what I've seen and heard, is she's finding her own way of helping people using what we do. So we're going to explore her journey, a little bit about her life and what brought her to where we are, the unique insights, both personal and those gained from her training with CPHT, and the powerful impact of solution-focused hypnotherapy. So get ready for an inspiring conversation, highlighting the transformative even, power of hypnotherapy. So let's introduce Neha.
Hi, thank you, Gary, for having me. I am Neha Malhotra, and I'm a solution-focused hypnotherapist. I'm based in Newcastle, and I offer both face-to-face and online sessions. So, and I have a practice called Poise.
Poise. So before we get into the questions,
yeah,
I've been to Newcastle a number of times now, and you know what I'm going to say?
It's still raining, Gary.
It's like every time I speak to anybody or go to Newcastle, it's raining. Is that a normal thing? Is it?
It's very normal. I've been here 16 years, still not got used to it.
Maybe it's just us people who don't naturally come from Newcastle. Yes. So I visit, and everybody tells me I bring the rain with me, but I don't think that's true.
No, it just stays here.
So lovely. So, well, I've got some questions. I'm going to ask you about 20 questions. I've asked everybody I talk to about the school these questions. And the first question is what motivated you to pursue training as a hypnotherapist?
Right. So I was a full-time mom, still I am, and was for like 7, 8 years. And then, you get to a point where your kids are growing up, and I wanted to do something that was mine, but that was also purposeful. That was, something that would make me happy and make me want to do it. So didn't know really where to start. So I sat down with a pen and paper, put my thoughts on paper, and came up with an answer, which was I wanted to help people, because all around me, people are struggling and suffering from anxiety, depression, mental health problems. It's all around us. It's the environment we live in now. So I wanted to be a solution to that, rather than bring something in my home or do something that would add to that. So and because I've had hypnotherapy in the past myself, and that was about 10 years ago, and that stayed with me. I think that's the best part about hypnotherapy. It stays with you.
Yeah.
And also you go in with an issue which you think is the issue.
Yeah.
Then you end up resolving so many other things that you didn't think needed your attention at all.
So, I mean, that's really what we hear a lot, isn't it? I'm interested in what you did before you became a solution. You said you was a full-time mum.
Yes.
What other things or roles were you taking?
Before that, I worked as a debt advisor for a charity. So again, it was very counseling role, where you're advising people on what they should do with their finances and whatnot, and whether they needed to go bankrupt or go down those routes. So yeah, I did that for a good 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So definitely in the people support industry, a different aspect of it. You know, very different from what you do now, but still being there for people when they needed that support most, that right support. So that's nice. So what inspired you? You said you had hypnotherapy before that quite often as a catalyst for some people. You said you worked out that you wanted to help people, but ultimately why hypnotherapy? Because there's so many options to help people, even debt counseling when you was working before, that was amazing. Why hypnotherapy?
I think it was mainly because I had it, and it's quite a holistic approach. So you're not just dealing with one thing at a time. It's holistic. It makes you a better version of yourself.
Yes, it does. It does. And that's a lovely understanding of why you did it.
Yeah.
Why CPHT? Why train with in a solution focused methodology?
Right. So I didn't know anything to where to start. So I literally started with a Google search, and CPHT came up as one of the schools. And then I went digging in more, looking at all sorts of different courses that were offered. I think my main criteria was I wanted something face to face. I didn't want to do an online course. I like to meet people. I like to connect with people. So that was one thing that it offered face to face in Newcastle. So that was big for me. And I think it was very in depth.
Okay.
So the course, I read through everything that the modules were going to
Yes.
cover and all of that. It was very in-depth. There was a lot based in neuroscience. There
Yes.
was, you have elements from CBT, you have elements from NLP, you've got elements from solution-focused brief therapy. And,
Yes.
we basically are taking the best of everything
Yes.
and combining and
Yeah.
bringing it together. And that sounded like a really promising
So,
thing.
so the course what you attended,
Mhm.
it's quite a long course. It's 10 months,
Yeah.
and yes, there was a lot of content. But how did that make you feel that it was a durable, long-term course?
I think that's why I wanted to do it. I didn't,
Okay.
there's so many short-term online courses available for hypnotherapy. And I think
Yes.
somewhere that's where the hypnotherapy gets, that bad rep as well a
Yes.
little bit. I didn't want to see it as a quick turnover to
Yeah.
find, as I said, I came from a place where I wanted to help people. So
Yes.
you want to genuinely help people. So
Yeah.
you want the knowledge and the expertise to be able to do that.
So what solidified that decision to join that cohort of in Newcastle face to face? What was it? What about that time? What was it you saw in the website or understood about the course? Well, went, that's the one
I
for me.
think I'd done my research on what qualifications I would get
Yes.
and what bodies I could be registered with. So I'd looked at Association for Solution Focused Hypnotherapy, National Council for Hypnotherapy, all of that, and
Yeah.
they did recommend
Yes. So that gave you
CPHTs.
that
Yeah, yeah,
confidence.
yeah. And I
That's
think I was very decided on this is what I want to do. It was about choosing the right school. And I think I had a conversation with you over the phone, and that kind of answered the questions I had. And
yes.
that's it. I went with my gut feeling after
Yeah.
that. Actually didn't tell, except for my husband, my family, friends, nobody knew I was going to do this. I didn't discuss, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I just signed up, then told everybody I was doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Wow. That's brave. So, how has, you've said you've worked with people, and normally I said, how has, training with the way you've did in solution focus shaped the way you're working with your clients? But actually, on a broader aspect, really, not just your clients, but has it changed the way you deal with people?
Oh, absolutely, it has. I think it's changed my perspective on how I see people, or even myself. If somebody was really frustrated or angry before, you would see them as like, oh my God, you would think that this is a bad person, but now you know why that is, right? You know what's happening inside them, in their head, why they're feeling the way they're feeling or reacting the
Yeah.
way they're reacting, and that changes your perspective on so
Yes.
many things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you, with the, looking at the way we do things, how do you said you're a mum, full-time mum, um, how do you maintain that work-life balance?
I think I was very clear on that from day one. I think I had a conversation with you about that I don't want any stress in my house. I don't want
Yes.
to bring that home. So
It was very,
I
very, very factual. This is what's going to happen.
Yes, yes. So I think I'm very clear on my boundaries that I will have this many number of clients. I'm not going to go beyond that. My hours, I'm very intentional with my time.
Yes.
So, I decide that I'm going to work within the school hours. There are some young kids that I see that I have to see after school hours, but then I do draw boundaries around that as well, that it
Yeah.
is only when on the days that I am available, where my children don't have things after
Yes.
school.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
will only do that on those days. So
So
I
you
am, I think, quite clear on that.
So there's no compromise. You make sure your family and you come first, so you
Yes.
can be the
I
best
think
support.
one of the big things for me was I go to India every summer to
Yes,
spend time with my family because I am from India, and that summer is a good chunk of time to take
yes.
kids back home. And for me, I didn't want to compromise on that. I really
Mm,
wanted to keep that going. So even my face-to-face clients, I tell them that I will be traveling, and they're happy to do sessions online.
yeah. So you still, when you're
Happy
in
to just,
India, because
yeah.
you go for quite a few weeks, you still work with your clients, but you just, because it's available to do an online session, you still do that.
Yeah, yeah. And I inform them beforehand. And,
Yeah.
to be honest, during the summer, a lot of people, like, a lot of my clients are moms of young kids, and they themselves, are busy. But then
Yeah.
there are other people who want to continue, and they've continued online. Last year, I went home and they continued.
Wow.
Yeah.
So one of the things which people ask me when they're looking at someone on the course is, how do you stay current, once I've qualified? So as we work a lot with neuroscience, you said that. So how do you make sure you're up to date? What do you do?
Right. So CPHT, I think, is brilliant in that because you have regular updates on the CPDs they have to offer. And I've actually signed up for the advanced hypnotherapy diploma.
Okay, so the
Um,
level 5, so you've gone on
Yes,
to do
yes,
extra training.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think because the CPDs are so interesting, and there's so much to learn, and whether you need a refresher or you want to learn more about a particular topic, you can always go in, and they keep repeating them as well, which is brilliant. So you can always go and do them. But because I'd done a couple of CPDs and really enjoyed it, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to sign up for the advanced hypnotherapy diploma. I don't have to do it immediately.
Yes.
You do it over 4 years. It
Yes.
just means all the CPDs I'm doing, that
Mm.
then they come
Add
together to
credit
give
to it.
that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah,
fantastic. So you feel like there's always that option.
yes.
So what can you share that stands out for you when you've been doing this job? You've been doing it now for nearly a year. What stands out for you, or most surprised you from an outcome, an unexpected outcome? What just went, wow, I know why I said I was going to do it, but that's just blown my mind a little bit, helping that person.
I think every client story is amazing because when they come from when they leave, it is brilliant. The change, the transformation is great. But there was one particular, it was very early on when I started working, there was a particular client who came in with IBS.
Yes.
And I think that she had about 11 sessions with me.
Yeah.
And from when we started, the hope was just to be able to go out of the house,
Yes.
just to be able to leave my house without worrying.
So
And
her
that,
IBS was quite debilitating at the time. She
yes, it is. It is. It can quite take over your life, can't it?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
everything. You're not able to go
Yeah.
out, you're not able to socially do anything. You just
Yeah.
want to stay home because you're constantly worried.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, when she did those 11 sessions, in the last session, she said to me, I am the happiest I've ever been.
Wow.
And the funny thing was that we never once talked about IBS.
No.
Not one session we raised the topic or used the word IBS.
Yeah. Is that because, you work solution focused? Was that something the client enjoyed, that they were focusing on how they could be better rather than what
Yes,
they suffered with?
yes, yes,
Some,
absolutely. And that's why, she was talking about how happy she was instead of telling me, oh, I have no IBS anymore.
yeah.
That,
Just because she was able to do that was the evidence itself.
yes, yeah.
So that's a beautiful story, beautiful. But how do you deal with skepticism? You come up across quite a lot. From when I first started telling you, you said, "Oh, not everybody's going to get this," and there was lots of misconceptions about what we do and what hypnosis is. How do you deal with that when you now see it?
I think it's quite annoying, to be honest. I don't understand why hypnotherapy is not one of the mainstream therapies, especially the solution focused,
Yeah,
approach to it. It should be mainstream because it
yeah,
really does help. I think it's for everybody. It's not just for people who are in crisis. It's for
yeah,
anybody who needs a little bit of a supporting,
yeah, yeah,
hand going forward into
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
So, but yeah, I think, you said it in class. It's a good conversation starter.
yes,
When somebody talks about, do you do this? And you're like, I don't, but then you make a joke about it, and then you start to tell them, what do you actually do? And you
yes,
start to talk about the brain.
yeah. So you
And then
start
they
bringing
go,
in
oh,
the,
wow. Yeah.
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 And how does that conversation for you then go? Has that been a conversation maker, like I told you it might be?
Yes, it is
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
It is.
Surprising.
It is. I'm surprised, but it is. People do come up with that. And I've had people literally go, there's a pendulum, this is what you do. And I've had quite a few other jokes like, oh, can you make my sister do this? Or can you make my brother do this?
Yeah.
And, it's a fun way of starting and actually
Yeah.
starting to talk about what you do.
Absolutely. I remember years ago when there was a TV program came on, where it was like mainstream Saturday night TV, and there was just hypnotizing people, make them do stupid things. And there was a massive outcry in the industry. It's like, oh, that's not good for us. And I'm like, wow, people want to talk to me about hypnotherapy because they think that's what I do. And it
Yeah.
gives me the opportunity to have that conversation. So yeah, you're right. There's so many people do have misconceptions, but when they talk to us, it gives us that opportunity to give them the real facts. And that was, so I'm really pleased you're doing that. So has hypnotherapy, the training you've done, created any personal transformations for you, for you as a person?
It definitely has. I
Yeah.
think when we went to our first module, I think you stood in front of the class and you said, "This course will change your life." And there were quite a few raised eyebrows
Yeah.
in the room,
Including
and
yours.
including mine. We're like, okay, right, fine. But it has. I feel like it's a new phase of life. It's a new journey, and it's leading me somewhere that's very exciting. And there's learning and growing along the way. Every client session that you do, you're not only helping them, you're helping yourself. You come out, I do the same trance for so many clients. Every time something different stands out for me as a
Yeah.
person personally,
Yes.
and I think that's quite powerful.
Yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
yeah,
13 years on, because I've been doing it for a little bit, I still do the same. It still has the same effect. It's
excellent.
lovely to hear that you do the same. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So what one thing, if you were to pick one personal breakthrough you've had since you turned up on that first day to start your training, where would you put that? What would you go, this is the big thing, what's different about me? Or not? Or the way you interact with people? What's changed?
I think I will say how I interact with people, but there's one thing I want to say is, when you drew that brain on that flip chart in class, that
Mm.
was quite empowering. It made me feel empowered.
Wow.
And that moment, I thought, if I can empower people in the same way,
Mm.
that's my purpose. I wanted to help. That's my purpose solved here. But I think it's also that every time you sit down and draw that for somebody on a piece of paper, and you talk to somebody, this is why you're feeling what you're feeling. I think that for me is quite amazing still every time I do it. And I've done it so many
Yeah.
times now. So it has definitely changed a lot for me because it gives me insight into myself.
Do you think that what we call the brain explanation,
Mhm.
which we do the first time we meet a client, do you think that what we call neuro education is a vital part of what you deliver?
Absolutely, very important. It's an eye opener.
Mm.
Um, it, it and I knew, you know, when I learned it, I was so excited to teach my kids. And I was like,
Mm.
I'm almost 40. And if I am learning this now and I feel amazing, what if my children knew this from a young age and they could grow up with having this knowledge and it
Yes.
would empower them
Yeah.
to use this to build something for themselves. So yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So how do you look after yourself? What self-care practices do you do to make sure, because you're seeing these, empowering these amazing clients, your mum, your wife, how do you look after you?
I think I'm a bit advocate for practice what you preach
Okay.
because you can't pour from an empty cup. So, you
No.
know, if you're going to help all these people, you need to make sure you are all right in yourself. And I think I've always journaled in, you know, on and off or one way or the other. But having done this course now and having become a hypnotherapist, I journal, but I journal in a solution focused way. So I do exactly what I tell my clients to do every
Yeah,
night.
you do.
Yeah, I do every night. I sit down and I write about what's been good about my day.
It's so lovely to hear practitioners walking their own walk. I meet lots of people. I get a lot of people come to see me who are practitioners in other modalities who suffer terribly. And it's like, why are you not doing what you know? And it's because they can't. So the fact that you can, it's just evidence of how good this technique is. So that's
I
fantastic.
think it's also, you know, if you're doing it, don't do it when crisis hits.
No,
Do it every day.
yeah,
Make it a part of your life. So when something, God forbid, happens or
yeah.
something comes in, you've already got that capacity to cope. You've got that.
Absolutely. Life happens all the time, and it's being in the best place so you can handle those challenging times. So
Yeah.
that's really good. So during the course, did you feel, you know, one of the things I get asked a lot is about what support's available when I'm training. So, you know, you've got the instructors, the mentors, you know, the whole process, the whole website and everything else from, and also the rest of your cohort. How did you found access and support during the course?
I think it was readily available. Like, you know, we had group supervision. So when
Yeah,
we were seeing volunteer clients, you know, we had group supervision, which was brilliant because you didn't only just talk about what you learned or what you wanted to, the questions you wanted to ask, it was also what everybody else was doing. And that kind of gave you a lot more insight into what
yeah,
else is out there, what else is happening. And
yeah.
I think you know, you were my trainer, Gary, and
Yes,
you were always there to have a chat, to ask any questions. You used to come early and sit there. And I remember having a chat on so many
yeah,
topics and so many asking questions. And it was always that help was always there.
that's
And I
lovely.
think for me, I was also traveling. I don't know if you remember that I had to travel, so I couldn't attend one module in, I think it was two modules over the 10 months that I couldn't attend in Newcastle. And I think because CPHT is all over, I
Yeah,
was able to travel to Edinburgh
yeah,
and kind of
yeah,
do the
yeah.
same course there.
Yeah, yeah. I met the lovely people up there as well.
Yeah,
And, you know, you would have met different lecturers.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but hopefully they would have shown you the same level of experience.
I think that's one
Right.
thing that everybody speaks the same language.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really important. That's one of the things which CPHT insist on, is we're all not just knowledgeable, but we're practicing every day. It's like when I finish our interview today, I've got a client coming in for their sessions and things like that. I'm a practitioner as well. And I
Yeah,
think that's vital. It's not, oh, I'm
yeah,
not very good at that, so I'm going to teach. It's like we have to be really good at what we do so we can teach. And I
yeah.
think that's nice. Um, when you was on the course, you came into the course on being a full-time mum,
Yeah.
once working in a charity,
Mhm.
and you was told this is a practitioner's course. When you qualify, you've got to see people, and as a business owner, how did you find that where we was you felt supported and prepared to go out? Did you have confidence, competence?
Yeah, I think we did because I think confidence came from seeing clients from the very start on in the course. You know,
Yeah.
you were seeing clients on a volunteer basis, and that really, really made you believe that you can do this.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think the rest of it, you know, there's hypnotherapy. Of course, you do the sessions, which you know we all love, but
Yeah.
there's the other parts of this, which is marketing, you know, handling your
Yeah.
finances and all of that. But you know, we did have modules on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did give us a start where we knew exactly what to register, where to go, which bodies to register with, you know, how to get started with marketing. All
Yeah.
of that was part of the
Yeah.
course,
And
which
that
was
was
really,
helpful for you.
it was, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really good to hear.
Yeah.
So now you're qualified, you already said you're going to do the level 5, which is amazing. And what other ongoing support do you feel that there's, you know, you didn't just qualify and go, yeah, thank you very much, goodbye. Do you feel there's ongoing support with CPHT?
Yes, yeah, because you know, there's always somebody you can email, somebody you can contact. Then you've got supervision, which you have to have, but also I think I quite enjoy it. So
Yeah,
I know that you have to have supervision, but at the same time, it's, you know, there are times when you don't have a question to ask, when you don't have anything, but you
yeah,
just want to go to supervision because there's so much knowledge out
yeah,
there, and then sharing that, hearing that is very helpful for you because you might think it's not relevant, but it might be.
yeah, yeah,
A couple of
absolutely.
weeks when you have a new client, it might just become relevant for you. And it's yeah, so it has been really, that support is there. And, you know, we have a Facebook group, so that is really helpful.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. So you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. And I think in our industry, it can be so easily to isolate yourself.
Yeah.
So feeling part of something bigger than yourself, I'm really pleased you feel that way. Um, so is there any highlights from that 10 months of you training? Do you have any moments of highlights where, you know, it was a key learning when you went, wow, that's really important to learn?
I think I've already mentioned it, and I could say other things because there was so much more, but I think it was the brain. It was the
Yeah,
brain explanation. That was the moment where you were like, okay, I'm here. I'm in the right place.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, because it wasn't false promises. It didn't, you know, we're very clear on what we do. We're very transparent on what we do.
Yes,
There is no miracle cure for anything. And there is no cure, it's help, right? It's to make you feel better. It's to give
yes,
you that capacity to cope.
yes,
And I think that was very clear from day one
yes,
that we're not going into anything magical. We're not
yeah,
doing any false promises. We're just very transparent. This is what we
yes,
do, and this is
yes.
what you will need to do as a client.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think that's the first time anybody said how transparent everything is. And I think that's really, really important because every student needs to really believe that they're getting the best of what we can offer and they need to know what we don't offer. So I think that's fantastic. And I think clients have now there's a thing with humans is that we always need to know why. So when we just lay everything out on the table and go, this is why, it really speaks to them because there's nowhere for them to feel or don't really know if you're listening because
Yeah.
we've shown them everything. So that's
Yeah.
really cool. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Uh, as a solution focused hypnotherapist, what do you find most rewarding about your work?
I think it's the client reviews, you know, and also when the clients speak your language.
Yeah,
Like it's the most normal way of conversation. Like, you know, when you have a client sitting across you and
yeah,
go, do you know, I know that this has filled my stress bucket, or, you know, when they talk about how they were in control, they had this intellectual mind and they could make
yeah,
that decision. And it's just like they're talking like it's a normal way of having a
yeah, yeah.
conversation. And that's brilliant.
It's because that really must show that they're how much knowledge they now have about themselves. So self-awareness.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. So if somebody was sitting and looking at this video and thinking, I wonder if hypnotherapy is something I might be interested in, what would you say to them?
Go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you know that this is what you want to do in the sense of helping people, then genuinely helping people, then just go for it. Listen to your gut and just go ahead
Yeah.
and do it. Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant. So that's all the questions I told you I was going to ask you. But I've got one more.
Okay.
So if you could write a book about your experience as a hypnotherapist, what would the title be and why?
Ah. I think I would call it poise.
Poise.
Yeah, because that's balance, right?
Yeah.
It's where I started from. It's what we do. We create, so we provide people the capacity to cope, which means we give them the balance between that intellectual and that primitive mind.
Yes.
So they know that both parts of the brain are important, right? But it's
Yes.
having that balance between
Yes.
them, and I think that's what I would call it. Yeah,
So you call it poise because that's exactly how you help people
yeah,
to give them that balance.
yeah.
Wow. That you didn't know you was going to get asked that question.
No,
Did
no, I didn't. But I think because when I was starting off, wanted to name my practice, I really, thought about what it meant for me,
Yeah.
and I think for me it went bringing a balance to the world, even because there's so much anxiety and stress around that this would bring a balance to it.
So that might be the strap line, bringing balance to the world. Poise, bringing
Yeah,
balance to the world.
that it's not bringing balance to the world, it's called balance yourself, but yes, it is exactly what that is.
So, with that in mind, we better tell people who's listening to this, who's charmed by you, like everybody is when they meet you, um, who you are, how they can find you, what's your website, what's your social media, how can the people get hold of you if they want?
Um, so I'm in Newcastle, as I said before, so I do face-to-face sessions, but I offer online therapy as well. And my practice is called Poise, so that you'll be able to find me on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah,
LinkedIn, all with the name of Poise Hypnotherapy. And I have a website called poisehypnotherapy.co.uk.
excellent.
So yeah, just if you Google Poise Hypnotherapy, that's
And then
me.
what I'll do is I'll put that in the bio of this YouTube. So if they want to find you on there as well. So thank you very much.
Oh,
Thank you for your time. And it's been, as always, a pleasure talking to you.
no, thank you for having me, Gary. Thank you.
Thank you.